Hello everybody, this is Mark Brown from GameMaker's Toolkit, and with a slightly different thing for you today, which is a Premiere tutorial, Adobe Premiere. I was asked to show how I do some of the motion graphic stuff I do in the episode, so I thought that maybe it's a good idea. And the one I'm going to be touching on today is this one from the Hitman episode, where we have some footage, and it shows little bits of game footage of Agent 47 doing stuff in these windows. And it's something I figured out just mostly through trial and error and fiddling with stuff and a little bit of Googling. So I thought, hey, I could show you how to do that. It's not too difficult. So all we need is Adobe Premiere, and all we really need is a couple clips. So we don't have the Hitman footage, so we're going to use some BioShock footage instead. We need something that's kind of a nice sort of subtle background that's not really changing very much. And then we're going to need something we want to kind of focus on. So I've got Sander Cohen stood there like so. Obviously we can't see him because he's behind this layer, which is exactly what we want to do. So the first thing we want to do is we want to right click in your project window and go new item and do a transparent video, which is 1080p, and it does exactly what it says on the tin. It is a piece of footage that you can't see. It's got nothing on it. Why are we doing that? Because we can draw stuff on top of it. In this case, we're going to go into the effects window. We're going to go into video effects. We're going to go into generate, and we can generate stuff to put on it. And the one we're going to do is a circle. So we can put a circle on here, and it's just drawn it on top of this layer, and we can then move the circle around. We can resize it. You can also invert the circle, which is actually a really nice tool for kind of doing a sort of like a spotlight on something like that, kind of really highlight something. But that's not what we're doing today. We're going to use the circle as is, and then on this layer, on the sort of base video layer, just of Fort Frolic, we're going to use a different effect, which is under keying. Keying is telling a piece of video footage not to show certain things. The most famous use would be a color key and a green screen. So you'd tell the thing not to use the color green, then that would hide it, and then you can put, Matthew McConaughey in space if you so want. But the one we're going to use is a track map key, which is where we can tell a piece of video footage to use another track as reference for what not to show. So I've applied that to this Fort Frolic thing. It's up here, and we're going to pick the video 3 footage, the video 3 layer, and so it looks like that, and then we hit reverse and bang. So what it's done is we're using that circle as a sort of cookie cutter to cut out the Fort Frolic and reveal the Sander Cohen below. We need to make the transparent layer the whole width of this video, otherwise it won't show. And then, so we've got Sander Cohen in here. And then obviously when he's not there, we've just got a black background. I'm just going to put that down to half. So there we go. Looks nice, sort of. The next thing we want to do is deal with this black stuff. So as you saw in the footage, in the Hitman thing, we kind of made it so it sort of explodes into view. And we're going to do that by putting the radius down to 0, so we just can't see it. So now it's gone again. And then put in, so we hit this button. If you haven't hit this button ever before, you should. It's called toggle animation, and it lets you write on keyframes. So we've got one keyframe like that, and then we move on a few sort of seconds, and we make it much bigger. And then you can see that it goes vroom, like that. And that's quite nice. It's a bit of a slow one. A lot of animation, a lot of motion graphics is just about tweaking speeds and just fiddling and seeing what looks nice. So that's a bit more nicer. And I'm also going to move the Sander Cohen footage underneath to kind of put him a bit more in the center. So it looks a bit like that. Nice. And then we're also going to do the opposite, which is to put another keyframe. So that kind of keeps it steady like this for that whole duration, and then a few seconds later we're going to do that. So that kind of in and out. And yeah, again, play with the timing. You're basically done, right? That's pretty much it. But there's that other nice thing where it kind of had the line around it. And so to do that, I'm just going to put on another transparent layer. You can choose the same one, doesn't matter. Doesn't really matter about the size this time. And we're going to generate another circle. This one is going to be white. And we're going to use an edge. We're going to say thickness. And as you can see, we've kind of got this nice window frame we're putting around it. And that needs to now come in to view, sort of the right timing. So what I'm going to use is a really nice thing called a radial wipe. It's a transition type. Oops, I put it on the wrong thing, but actually that's quite useful because we can show you what it looks like, which is like that, like a sort of clockwork thing. Now I'd never use it on a piece of video footage in GMTK because it's a little bit tacky, but for this circle it's really nice because you can do this and it draws, well, let's get rid of it, but then it draws in the circle. Nice. And we can also just kind of like change the start angle to depend where we want to start it, and we can something that's a nice tip is to kind of use the keyframes of another layer to get the right timing. So we want to have it so it fills in exactly as the Sander Cohen footage is at its highest. So that's when it's going to be at 100% 0% completion, I guess. We'll start an animation, and then maybe sort of like when it's like there or like there, we want to start it again. It's just messing about. So, and oh, it's a bit too fast. Let's give us a bit more time. And nice. That's cool. And I think you can also try messing around with is you can right click on these nodes and you can change it to something like an ease in, and this means it won't it will sort of more slowly gradually come into completion. So let's see what that looks like. Does that look like any good? Whoa, it does not like that. Hold on. Can't really notice the difference, but ease in is generally a good thing to do. It just generally looks nicer, so I'd recommend just putting that on most things, and that's basically it.